uh, still in Brinstar, I think this is, and this is the last video. We're gonna finish out Metroid
Yeah.
today.
Yep,
And
we're
we thought,
just doing some item mop up through the areas, places I didn't back travel to, and then we're just gonna go. We're gonna go fight the mother bitch. It's gonna.
oh, that's mean, but appropriate. So today's topic, we're going to do a little bit of Metroid Inception. Damn it, Josh! Stop pausing the game. We're going to do a bit of Metroid Inception. We're going to make this entire episode about how we feel about the Metroid series. And we're not going to go ahead and insult other M for half an hour. There's no need to do that.
Stan, speak for yourself. No, the only reason we don't have to insult Metroid Other M for a half hour because it does it itself.
You can find so many videos online of Metroid Other M just getting ripped a new asshole. There's no need for us to do it for half an hour straight. Maybe 5 minutes, but not another half hour. It's been done to death.
No, and you know what? I don't want to give any more lip service to that god awful game while playing the most beautiful game. So
we're gonna start at the very beginning. Josh, what is your experience with the very first?
Also,
Metroid game?
real quick, just cussing the whole way down because I did not mean to fall here, and I did.
Oh, you fell to the part you didn't need to.
Yep, because I already know how to fucking shine spark, so
Obviously.
I cussed a lot.
Rip run.
Yep.
Rip run.
It was bad. Anyway, your question, Stan.
Back in 1987, Metroid, the very first game, came out. What is? I'm gonna fact check myself. I think it was 1987. What is your experience with the very first Metroid game?
It is extremely challenging, especially because of it is, for the time it was mind blowing in the
1986, by the way.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Just mind blowing in the scope of the game and the way that it worked and the map size and the way that you traversed it. But when I first played it, I was fairly young, and that was very hard to play it without a map. And it was definitely interesting, and even for the Nintendo, it created an environment that just felt very barren and alien and exciting. And I'd played that after I'd played this. When I played Super Metroid as a kid and really got into the series, I went back and played Metroid and Metroid 2 leading up to that. But man, I enjoyed Metroid 1 again. Very challenging compared to this, I think, but it's still an extremely fun game to play. What about you?
So the very first time I played the first Metroid game was not on the NES, it was on the GameCube, and it was after I beat Metroid Prime, because it unlocks Metroid 1. And I played it for the first, 2 hours with a guide, because that's a guide game. You can play it without a guide, but yeah, have fun.
Yes.
And for the first 2 hours was the only 2 hours I ever played that game at first, because it was just boring. It was boring. It was difficult. It's really, really difficult. It was archaic in design. And after just beating Metroid Prime, I'm like, I can't do this. I'm sure this was great back in the day, but I'm getting nothing out of this. So I dropped it. But then I became part of the Nintendo Ambassador Program for the 3DS, because I was a day one purchaser of the Nintendo 3DS. And look at that, they dropped the price just 4 or 5 months later by $60-$80. So they went ahead and gave me a bunch of free games. Metroid 1 was one of them. And I decided, you know what, it's time for me to go ahead and recognize my roots. This was when I was in the game design program. For college, and I said, let me go back to my roots. I'm going to play a bunch of old games and actually beat them. So one of them was The Legend of Zelda 1 and Metroid 1. I played and beat it on my Nintendo 3DS. I still have the save file. No, I don't. I sold that 3DS. I had my save file for it. And I gotta say, really, really hard. That is not an easy game. I respect anyone that could speedrun that without doing complete sequence breaks. But
Which most of the speedrunning of that game is sequence breaking. And here's where I realize I'm almost leaving 2 missiles behind. But, it's one of those things where, though, when you play it and you give given the context of the era that it came out in, and you're just like, this is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And yes, it's hard, but it's hard in a unique way, I feel like. Given, like...
I disagree with you. It's hard in an archaic way.
Why do you say that?
There are certain times when you go through a door, and if the enemy is scripted to follow you, you will go ahead and take damage from the enemy following you through the door. And let's not forget, if you get a game over, you start at the very beginning of whatever area you're in with only 30 health, no matter what. No matter how many energy tanks you have, it's 30 health. So you have to spend the next half hour grinding some enemy to go ahead and get all your health and missiles back up to snuff.
That you know what? That is true. That is very fair, and I'll give you that. I think that is a little bullshit. Also, the fact that your beam can't reach all the way across the screen until you get a
fuck?
The long shot, yes.
If Samus is an elite bounty hunter, and she has a plasma shot that can only go like 10 feet in front of her, what are the other second and third rate bounty hunters using?
Just their sticks.
They're just Cat and Falcon. They're hoping the Falcon punch everything that comes their way. But that being said, I did beat it. I did not enjoy it. It's a game that I would say is only for the very curious Metroid fans. If you're going to play Metroid 1, play Metroid Zero Mission.
Oh, absolutely. That is.
It's a Metroid 1 remake for the Game Boy Advance. It got released to the Nintendo 3DS. No, it didn't. It's not. I do not believe it is yet available in the virtual store. I'll actually look that up. Josh, tell me your experience with Metroid Zero Mission. This is still in the same line as Metroid 1.
I absolutely loved Zero Mission. I thought it was great.
Oh, wow, your Skype cut out really bad. Your Skype cut out really bad.
Well, at least we'll have my Audacity file, which will be fine. It's to me, it's the perfect way to retell the Metroid 1 story. It's just a good example of how to take an old classic game and retell it and repurpose it for the modern era and to take the things that were wrong with the game and change those and make them fit. And it's just so fun. It's good. It's good play, and the things they added to the end of the game, I think, really add a lot of depth and enhance the storytelling of the game and some of the backstory about Samus and the Chozo and whatnot. So,
yeah, the backstory on it was pretty cool, especially near the end where you got the gravity suit. Because you fought an iteration of Samus, and you kind of had to prove your worth. But how I felt for Zero Mission, I believe I borrowed and beat your copy. It's once again one of the only Metroid games that I've ever 100% completed. And not only did I 100% complete it, I 100% completed it in less than 3 hours. So I got the absolute best ending in that game because, man, I had a lot of fun with Zero Mission. To the point I just did not mind beating it again, doing 100% less than 3 hour run. It is so fun. It's relatively easy considering in the Metroid franchise. Even when you go for a 100% run, it's not the most difficult game out there. It's not this. It's not Super Metroid. It's definitely not the original Metroid 1. But yes. I would say if anyone ever wants to play Metroid 1 and you want a great experience, and it plays a lot like Super Metroid 2, it even has a speed booster in it. It has a speed booster in it.
Yeah, it's a good example of not letting the limitations of the time frame of the original let you not they're not held captive by the original. They take it and they stay true to it, but they also add things in a very unique and, I think, good way. I think it works well.
Mm-hmm. Like the power grip where you can grab ledges, awesome. Being able to fire in all directions. In the original Metroid, you could only fire up and
straight.
Straight. That's it. In this one, you can fire in all 8 directions. You can crouch in Zero Mission, also awesome. Just a good game. Just a very, very good game. Give it a shot if you haven't played it. Let's move on. Metroid 2: The Return of Samus.
Metroid 2: The Return of Samus. An interesting game, very neat to see them trying something on the Game Boy and go with what they had done with Metroid, but I just don't like it. It's, I played it, I beat it, I appreciate what it is, but it's a little repetitive, and I think it's a little much for the Game Boy. And here you'll notice that I see 215 on my missile count, knowing that I have 2 left to get, and I start cussing very loudly because I realized, and I knew exactly where it was, the missile that I had left behind. And I sit here, yelling, cursing.
Damn it! Such is life.
Yep. Moving on. What about you?
Sucks.
How do you feel about Metroid 2?
Oh, I did want to bring this up. Metroid Zero Mission is now available for the Virtual Console Store.
Wonderful.
It's on the Wii U eShop under Game Boy Advance. So if you have not played that game and you have a Wii U, there you go.
Highly recommended.
Highly, highly recommend it. It's looks like it's going for about less than $10. Oh wait, let me step back. Does not have a Wii U eShop release date in the North American region, only Japan and EU. So I'm sorry, North America. Japan hates us for some reason, but there it is. Don't know what to tell you.
Soon, hopefully.
Soon. If you have a Game Boy Advance or a Nintendo DS, the original DS, by all means, still go ahead and play it. Worth your money. I thought you were about to fuck up this jump.
I thought I was too, but I didn't.
There are 230. Yeah, you did miss that one.
Yep, 230 missiles, 50 supers, 50 power bombs.
225 going forward in the rest of the series, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I think you're correct.
Listen to us trying to figure out how, like we knew Metroid. Anyways, Metroid 2: The Return of Samus. The first time I played it was on a Game Boy. Long time ago. I think it was like 6 or something like that. And I played it. I didn't get it. I thought Samus was a girl. I thought Samus was a guy. And this was me having the instruction manual, and it said in the instruction manual it was a woman. It used the pronoun her. And I was like, what? Nah, that's a dude. That must be a mistake. Like 6-year-old me, I never played the original Metroid. I just did not know that was a woman in there.
Yeah,
it makes sense. If you look really close, you see little souls flying out of there.
Yeah, fuck those
but
guys.
You have to look pretty closely. Those are all the bosses that were guarding this statue. This is the most magical thing about Super Metroid. That right there, that's just magic. There's no other way to put it. That's magic.
Yup.
Anyways, I eventually did play it and beat it again in my with an emulator. That was like a couple months after I beat the original Metroid, because once again I was going back to my roots, and it's It's kind of It introduced a lot of different things we talked about earlier. It introduced the Various Suit. It introduced the Spazer Beam. It introduced
Spider-Ball.
the Queen Metroids. It's canonical. You find out why all the Metroids. You find out why all the Metroids just kind of disappeared. So there's that. And why there are no more Metroids.
Because Samus kind of saw to that.
So yeah, that game is nothing but genocide. That is Metroid: The Genocide.
Indeed, it is.
Uh, you get to see the baby Metroid. That's a thing.
Yeah,
You
the
see
very
it at
end.
the very end. Let's move on. We don't really need to talk about this game. We've been talking about it the entire time. This is a masterpiece.
Oh, absolutely.
So
It's just, yeah, it's so good.
it is. Let's go ahead and. Oh, hold on. My dog is acting up.
The joys of live recording. Sometimes life gets in the happen. Yeah, fuck you. So, moving on, we'll talk about. I'll go ahead and just start talking about it. Metroid
Fusion.
Fusion. Fusion, I really enjoyed. It is definitely something different. I know there's a lot of Metroid purists out there who don't like it because they feel a little more linear and whatnot. But honestly, I thought it took the side-scrolling Metroid in a very unique direction. I really liked what they did with the fusion suit and the storytelling there. And honestly, I really wish they would continue with that. But I enjoyed it a lot. It is up there with my top of favorites.
Metroid Fusion is like. Oh hey, there's that baby Metroid.
Baby got big.
Yeah. So Metroid Fusion is that game that I've played and beaten like 20 times. It is also one of my favorite Metroid games. It's a quick game too. You can beat it in like an hour and a half without trying that hard. You could beat it in less than 2 hours doing a 100% run without trying that hard also.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, if you know what you're really doing, you could beat it in less than an hour. It's actually such an easy and quick game that when I got it for Christmas one time, I actually had to force myself to put it down because I was afraid I was going to beat it too quickly and take my time with it. But yeah, you got to see the SAX, which took over Samus's power suit. It introduced how powerful Samus can be with her power suit and how weak she is without it. But yeah, you're right. It was a really cool story game. First time you got to see Adam Malkovich.
It definitely gave some insight into Samus's past and her motivations and who she was when she was in the Federation before she became, the bounty hunter that she is today. And it's just, it was refreshing. I think it, and honestly, I think it would have been. Our opinion of it would be different if it hadn't been released side by side with Metroid Prime.
You're going to transition right into that. Metroid Prime. The magnum opus that is the 3D Metroid games. Thank you, Retro Studios, for doing the series justice. You're always afraid that when a game transitions into 3D, there's going to be a bunch of hiccups. Then you have these gems. Oh, well, Metroid Prime was a gem.
Not only do you have the game transitioning from this 3D perspective to the first-person 3D perspective, but you have it done by this unknown American studio that has, let's be honest, up until that...
Like, what gives you the right to touch the Metroid series?
Up to this point has given... But the crazy thing is, up to that point, they had been spewing out nothing but utter garbage. They had 8 games in development at one point in time that all got scrapped because none of them were meeting their deadlines, and they were all terrible. And then they get handed this franchise and come out with this fucking amazing product. And you're just like...
I bought Metroid Prime the day it came out. That was also the very last game I ever bought from a Walmart, by the way.
I bought mine from Kmart.
Nice.
Yes, mine came with a silver wave bird.
Did it?
Yes, that was a Kmart exclusive. You could get a Metroid Prime with a wave bird.
Oh, I missed out. By the way, we're fighting the final boss, Mother Brain, right now.
Yeah, dude, I'm fucking just...
But fuck that, Metroid Prime, dude, that was the transition to 3D was perfect. Going through the visor, seeing the damage the seamless encounters, the way the missiles worked with a lock-on system, the way the first-person shooting mechanic worked, and it was a complete exploration Metroid game. If you've never played Metroid Prime, you can buy it online on the Nintendo eShop, all 3 Metroid Primes. Unfortunately, in my opinion, you have to play it with the nunchuck controller,
Yes.
which I think is a disservice to the game, because I personally hate motion controls with a burning passion now that I've gotten older.
And you know what? I liked the motion controls in Prime 3.
Hold on, Samus has to die. Oh, never mind.
Get fucked.
Yep.
Baby
Get
came
wrecked.
back. Baby come back.
Alright, but anyways, we'll transition real quick into Prime 2. I didn't like it, and
I liked
beat
it,
but I didn't like it.
I liked it. I thought there was some ridiculous padding, but honestly, I really liked the storytelling and I really liked the game.
I did not like Metroid Prime 2. It got tedious to me. It has some of the worst backtracking I've
And
seen.
I will fully well admit that the game there are some parts that are rotten with some really dumb padding, but if you take that out, I think it's a pretty solid game.
Alright, you can't take it out, though.
I understand. It's not one that I go back to frequently.
It's one I'll never go back to again. No, I'm not saying my time is that valuable, but I'm not going to play Metroid Prime 2 Echoes ever again.
This is true. I understand.
So, on to Metroid Prime 3. Doesn't that have a subtitle?
Corruption.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, Baby Metroid's dead.
Really quick moment of silence for the.
Are we
fallen
really?
Metroid.
The game's 21 years old. I mean, are we really missing out on anything? You guys know what's going to happen. Taste the rainbow, motherfucker.
Get fucked, mother brain.
Yeah, that scream never gets annoying.
Metroid Prime 3, first Nintendo first-party game, released on the Nintendo Wii U that was developed exclusively for the Wii U.
You know what? I borrowed Josh's copy because I didn't buy the full one myself. Me and Josh have known each other for many, many years, in case you guys haven't caught on to this.
And we've exchanged many games back and forth.
Many, many games. Josh had a much wider collection than I did, so I borrowed a lot of his games. I never knew it did that. Just kind of,
And it's gone.
So,
Time to get the fuck out.
yep. I didn't like Corruption, and I played it for 4 hours, and here's why. Motion controls. Fuck that. You can't turn it off either. I don't want to play Metroid with motion controls. It's tedious. It's a long game that asks for a lot of motion controls with. And you have to use the motion controls to aim. That's the worst part.
But it came out at a time when, like, that was the thing, because that was the
I know.
Wii shtick. But you know what? Honestly, at least at the time, maybe I was so enamored by the game and the novelty of it that I honestly did not mind using the motion controls, and I really enjoyed it, actually.
Return back to it now that you're older. Because
I
I
think-
played the game, like, not the day it came out that you let me borrow it. I played it, like, maybe 4 years after the fact. And this is when I've been burned out on motion controls. And I start playing and I'm like, yeah, no.
I think if I were to go back now, I would have a very different opinion of it. But and especially since I've now experienced Prime 1 with motion controls and did not enjoy any of that time. But
No, I could never give Prime 1 the motion control treatment. That sounds like it's insulting what you're trying to do with Prime 1.
I would rather pull out my GameCube and play the original or emulate it than to play the remastered version with the motion controls.
If only they took out the motion controls in the remastered version, I'd instantly buy it from Nintendo. It's like, here's my money.
I wish they would give you the option. You could turn on a slider that says, I want to play with the motion controls or I want to play with the standard controls.
Right, but you don't even have that.
Nope.
I'd get it if they couldn't do it for Metroid Prime Corruption. The game just wasn't coded that way, but still.
Yeah. Guys, don't worry, I'm not a monster. I'm going to save the animals.
Yeah, damn right you are. So, now that we've covered all 3 Prime games, we have to talk about it.
No, we don't.
I mean, we could talk about Hunters, but what's to talk about? It's a shitty Metroid game with shitty controls.
It wasn't so bad.
Metroid Prime Pinball? Fuck you. It's pinball.
Wasn't so bad.
No. So, shut up. In October of 2010...
Stop it. I will appreciate that when Mother Brain died, you didn't say, and that's where Other M starts, because,
That is where Other M starts.
Shut up. Anyway.
So while the credits are rolling, since you completed the game, good job, by the way.
Thank you.
You made speedrunners everywhere cry.
I made myself cry.
Oh, look, hold on. Watch as the planet explodes, you see a little spaceship go by. That's the animals Josh saved. Somehow they have enough sentience to pilot a spaceship, but not wear clothing. I'm not going to question it.
Hey, man, you do you.
Hold on, wait for it.
Oh.
Look on the right side. There it is.
There it goes.
Somehow they made it.
One of those things that you just wouldn't know.
Yeah, you have to. I honestly was watching a Let's Play video and someone pointed it out to me. Oh, here comes... Wait.
It's just got to go through the credits. So.
Yep, it's got to go through the credits, then we'll add some salt to that wound. Anyways, Other M. You go first. We got 10 minutes. Go ahead.
I'm just going to do that for 10 minutes.
Story aside, I liked what the game was trying to do. I did not like the controls.
No.
Asking me to play a 3D game with a 2D directional pad is abhorrent, and I thought we've moved on from that. I thought the N64 showed us that there's better out there, but I guess Nintendo thought this would be cute to make it look like an NES gamepad. And then when they had you point the Wiimote at the screen to fire missiles, that is such bad design.
It boggles my mind that anybody anywhere with any game design experience thought that was a good thing to do. I just don't understand it. I just cannot get my head around it.
If they kept it all in 2D, fine. Just don't force 3D just to fire missiles or to examine the environment. That's not necessary. It's not needed. It's very, very immersion breaking. Especially
when the whole thing about the new combat style in Other M was this fast-paced, close quarters combat, and then having to plant yourself like a fucking artillery piece to fire missiles completely breaks what they were trying to do with this fast-paced jumping around combat, which I was excited about. I was like, oh, okay, I prefer the gun, but I was like, I think, this whole Samus getting a little athletic could be a very interesting take on it, but no, fuck it. It was terrible. It was awful. I hated it. And people are like, well, if you took the Metroid out of it, it would be okay. I was like, no, it'd still be shit.
No, it's only because the Metroid was in it that it scored, middling scores anyways.
Yes.
Want to talk about the story real quick? Gunpei Yokoi, may you rest in peace.
I mean, if we have to, hold up. Samus is going to get a little undressed here real quick.
Let's just keep the story quick since we talk about it all the time.
Yeah. It was terrible. It did the series injustice. It was sexist.
The voice acting's bad. The script is bad. Nothing about the cinematic scenes was good, especially when Samus experienced PTSD. Had that been the first time she saw Ridley, good. That would have been a powerful scene. Since it was canonically the 5th time she saw Ridley, oh, burn! Not good.
I hate everything right now.
Yeah, we're talking about Other M while you're looking at your 99%.
It just all burns in my body. And I think we've had this discussion before, and I don't know if we had it on the podcast or not, but a trained soldier will experience PTSD, but in the heat of battle, they're going to go into the fight mode, and they're going to not have that kind of reaction. And people who say, oh, it's, she's seen him so many times, she's so surprised he's alive. It doesn't matter. She is a trained soldier, and it doesn't matter how unbelievable the situation is, they're just going to say threat, neutralize it, then deal with the stress of it after.
This is true. This is true. So yeah, we as someone that bought the game the day it came out and then beat it like pretty much that same day, because it's a Metroid game, you can beat them relatively quickly. I have to say it had to be one of the most middling experiences I've ever had. You know how I said just earlier, just a couple minutes earlier, that Metroid 1 just was not fun and Metroid 2 just was not fun for me? Other M was not fun because we had come so far with the Prime series and we took so many steps back with Other M, and that's what left it very disappointing for me.
The most disappointing thing about it for me was the hype that had been built up, and the attitude from Nintendo, and then the subsequent reaction to it has obviously been a part of why we haven't seen anything in the franchise in a while, and why I think Nintendo's hesitant about the franchise is because of the reaction to it.
How sad is it that Other M, in its inadequacy to progress the Metroid series, even though it tried a lot of new things, a lot of new, I'll admit, a lot of new interesting things, but it left so many hearts broken that it might have killed the Metroid series. That's powerful. I mean, I guess Nintendo's just going to ignore the sales of all the Prime games and ignore how much there is a fan community of Super Metroid and just say, that's it, we're done, Other M did bad, leave it be at that. Even though it still sold like a couple million copies, but still.
Well, that's the new risk aversion in the games industry. You know, heaven forbid anybody take a risk at any point in time.
But, well, that playthrough has been long done and over. This was something special that we wanted to do because we wanted to. We're two very huge Metroid fans, and we thought it'd be interesting for you guys to go ahead and over the last couple weeks watch us just kind of power through the game while we talk about our topics at hand. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Can you please go ahead and give us your thoughts in the comments section below? If you hated it, that's fine. I can understand. If you loved it, cool. Let us know what you liked. If you want to subscribe to us, appreciate it. If you don't, I understand.
Yeah. Also, if you want to see me fumble through that more, make sure you follow me on twitch.tv/MetroidBand1352. I stream it occasionally, so you can watch me make mistakes and hear me cussing live instead of just telling you about when I cuss. So.
Oh, that's got to be entertaining. I admit. But that was Unscripted Gaming, the Metroid Run. I hope you guys had fun. Thank you very much for watching, and hope you have a fun night.